It's getting real out here.
Possible the biggest serial killer of all time has just been caught.
Never look behind you while walking up the stairs.
Welcome back to Paranormal Highway. Thanks for joining me on tonight's ride. We're going to be checking out some TikToks that are freaking people out. Before we jump into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you already haven't to join the Highway Patrol. And let me know if you guys like these longer videos. Alright, let's get started.
Scientists have pulled a worm out of Siberian permafrost that had been frozen for 46,000 years. They thawed it out and it came back to life and started having babies. So the worm is actually a microscopic roundworm that's called a nematode, and it turned out to be a brand new species that science had never seen before. Scientists were able to find it about 130 feet down in the Siberian permafrost, buried inside a fossilized squirrel burrow. They were able to radiocarbon date it, and it had been frozen down there for around 46,000 years back when Neanderthals were still walking the earth. They're saying that the way it survived is it basically shutting down its entire body, no eating, no aging, and no metabolism at all. Whenever they thawed it out in a lab, it woke up, started moving around, and then it just started having babies. It's all female, so it doesn't even need a male, and it lays eggs on its own, and it's already cloned itself into more than 100 generations. But if a living thing can actually pause itself for 46,000 years and wake up totally fine, the real question they have is what else is frozen down there while that permafrost is still melting. It was frozen for 46,000 years and woke up ready to reproduce. Good luck getting rid of it.
Am I the only one who's getting a bad feeling from this? It's like we learned nothing from Jurassic Park. Like, why can't we leave things like that either frozen or extinct? There's a reason why they didn't make it to our time. Because they don't belong on our version of Earth. They better hope that worm can't grow any bigger, or we're gonna be like SpongeBob dealing with the Alaskan bullworm. Maybe they should study other things, preferably ones they didn't bring back to life.
The scariest thing about the ocean is that people are not scared enough about what's in the ocean. And y'all still don't believe that mermaids is real. Well, look at this shit. This picture of a mermaid right here was captured on surveillance at Contines Floss Open Front Estate. And before you say this ain't real, you gotta know who Contines Floss was and why he built this estate. Contines Floss was a man that was obsessed with mermaids. So much so that he built this oceanfront house that they say is haunted right now to summon mermaids. You heard what I just said? This man was a Mexican comedian that had an obsession with mermaids. So the legend goes, he met somebody and he told him that he really wanted to marry a mermaid. Basically, the man that he met convinced him to build this mansion. If you build it, they will come. That man told him exactly what to do to get the wife that he wanted. The mermaid wife that he wanted. And now we go back to this. Of course, he never married a mermaid. Actually, he died in 1993. And ever since he died, his house has been abandoned. But here's the crazy part. The locals say if you visit that mansion at night, you can hear mermaids. And apparently, somebody visited that mansion at night and they got that picture right there. You had other people say that they visited that mansion at night and they can hear mermaids singing. Some people even say that mermaids try to lure them into the sea. Doesn't that sound familiar? Everybody can't be lying. We hear the stories, but some of y'all just don't believe them.
How much money does someone have to build a mansion with a pool connecting to the ocean? How did that guy he met know how to get mermaids to come? And I hope he knew that mermaids do not look like the ones from all the fairy tales. Like, they aren't Ariels. They legit look like monsters, at least from the photos I've seen. And people are saying the house is haunted and they can hear them singing at night. They better not listen to that siren song or the ocean's gonna be their new home. I'd stay as far away from that mansion as possible.
It's getting real out here. It's getting real out here, guys. Shh, shut up! What is going on out here, bro? Things are changing very fast. Something is up. These concerts are getting out of hand. I'm not sure why anybody wants to come in on a giant snake. Shut up! You know why? Because it's entertaining. It's entertainment. People are saying that this is the book of life, and I doubt that. Shut up! Something is going on. These concerts are getting very strange. people are saying that it's not about the music anymore, but it is. That's why they do it. I'm not sure if this means time is running out, but the way things been looking lately, time is running out, allegedly. Shut up! People need to start moving with urgency. This is what I heard, because I would never say nothing like that. I'm just playing about, guys. Entertainment purposes only. These are concerts. These are how these artists perform. They come out on big snakes and big clocks and stuff like that. Nothing to think about. Just enjoy the show. I don't know what's going on out here. Let me know if you know what's going on out here. I'm out.
Who is going to these concerts? Like, who is coming up with these ideas? These weird celebrities are always doing something that seems random and they look like they don't make sense, but then you look closer and you're like, oh, I get it. I'm not sure what the snake is about, but that clock obviously represents time. Like he said, is time running out? Should we be moving with more urgency? And the giant book? Maybe he's onto something with the Book of Life thing. What idea do you think the show was trying to convey?
You know, in the 1970s, there was a First Lady, Rosalind Carter, who was photographed next to a clown who was performing at children's hospitals. That same clown was at the same time burying at least 33 young men and boys because he was Pogo the Clown, John Wayne Gacy. Also, did you know that there was a Soviet serial killer who killed around 52 people and avoided capture for nearly a decade because the government, partly because the government insisted like his crime simply couldn't have happened. Basically, the government was like, serial killing can only happen under like capitalism, and this is communism, so that can't happen. And they let this man continue killing from like the 1970s until like the 1990s. Also, did you know that Ted Bundy was a suicide hotline worker, and the woman who worked beside him in the office would later write books about him and his crimes, and he would often talk like through her throughout the night, and would also like walk her to her car at night to make sure she got home safely. Creepy, ugly motherfucker. If you didn't know, now you do. German's V2 rocket was the first thing to reach space and later became like the ancestor of the same technology that like helped put humans on the moon, right? That rocket was built via concentration camp prisoners. Yeah, this rocket was mass produced and over 20,000 concentration camp prisoners died via the making, which is insane compared to the fact that this V2 killed roughly 9,000 people. There was a lot of death involved in these rockets. That's what I learned tonight. Goodbye, the end.
That was so much information. Like, where do I start? Finding out that John Wayne Gacy and now former First Lady Rosalind Carter have a picture together reminded me of the song Heathens by 21 Pilots, where one of the lyrics is, "You'll never know the murderer sitting next to you." And in this case, it's horrifying but true. He did not get arrested for another 7 months after that picture was taken. And the Soviet one, where they let the guy basically get away with it because they wanted people to believe that something like that could never happen, knowing very well it was happening, they just didn't want to ruin their image. It's like disgusting and terrifying. And then Ted Bundy helping people to not, and then befriending a woman and making sure she was safe shows what a sick freak he really was. Because what do you mean he was helping people at their most vulnerable while also going after people? That is generally terrifying.
This photo was taken by my friend who decided to take the photo because her dog kept looking at this part of the room. She recognizes the apparition as her father because of the shirt it appears to be wearing. The photo was taken at night when there was no light and all the windows had the curtains drawn. This is the strangest thing I've ever had happen to me. I was working by myself in my store when this happened. My sunglasses were over by the office before they dropped from the ceiling to the floor in the middle of the store. I checked the CCTV, but no person or animal came into my store. My neighbor's house is very haunted. One night, I went up to the roof to grab a few things and looked over towards my neighbor's house. Standing on their roof was this figure. I took a photo and practically ran back down into my house.
The first and last one are enough to make my heart stop. The first one you can't see if you don't have a camera, but luckily she said it looked like her dad, so she's good, she's safe. The last one is literally a shadow monster just standing at the neighbor's house. I will no longer be living in that neighborhood, thank you very much. The second one, alright, I'm closing for the day. I don't have time to play games with these ghosts. Leave me and my sunglasses alone.
Look at that face. A 7-foot-tall robot with a goat head and glowing eyes. Oh, and it can also carry a chainsaw. I'm sure nothing feels weird or demonic about this whatsoever. A company called Satris is building a robot called 3 Halves, and they're saying it's designed to keep people out of harm's way by going into places that are too dangerous for humans. Things like wildfires and collapsing buildings. Now just imagine being stuck in a wildfire and this thing shows up and says, "I'm here to save you." Because why does it need a goat head and horns? Well, people were asking the same question and the company responded with this. They said the horns have wide-angle cameras in them which allow us to see the positions of the legs and arms. But that still doesn't explain why it needs to look like that. Also, because of the size of the horns, the robot can't fit through standard American-sized doorways. Also, 3 Halves doesn't have any hands. It has a quick disconnect wrist system. It can swap out tools like a chainsaw or a drill. And I took this screenshot from their own website and it literally says this robot is more dangerous than it looks. But don't worry, because if you were ever in a situation where you need to stop it, they show you its weak points in case you need to do so. Now, why would this company put out a manual on how to stop it? At some point, you have to stop asking whether they could have designed it differently and start asking why they didn't. They expect people to trust AI and robots. Then they build a 7-foot-tall goat-headed machine with a chainsaw. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I reacted to another TikTok about this in a previous video, but in case you didn't see it, I'll say it again. I'll take my chances with the fire. That scary robot 3 Halves can F all the way off, like off a cliff preferably. There is no way I'm letting that spawn of the underworld get anywhere near me, especially when it can hold a chainsaw. Like, who thought of this? There's no way they thought this was a good idea. Like, they're up to something. I know they are. Why are they showing us how to stop them? Like, why would you make something that would need to be stopped? Isn't it supposed to help people? Unless your tech and code people didn't do their job to make sure its programming couldn't get corrupted.
Never look behind you while walking up the stairs. This has to be one of the creepiest stories you're about to hear, so if you're alone right now, do not listen to the story at night. This man claims that his parents were leaving out of town and they needed someone to watch his pet cat, so he figured, why not? He's done this before and nothing bad ever happens. The only difference was that this time, his parents were in a new house, so it wasn't the old house before. This house actually had 2 stories and it had a basement. The first day he got there, everything was normal, the cat was normal. He was just having a good time at his new parents' home. However, the second night was when things were a little odd. So I did forget to mention that the first night, he did claim that he heard some noises downstairs. He went to check it out and there was nothing there. This second night is when things got a little weird. The cat did not want to get out of the couch the entire day. It was like under the couch hiding. He thought that was very weird. He phone called his parents. His parents said that sometimes this cat does it, but he only does it at this house. So he went on about his night. He was watching TV downstairs. It was getting a little late, so he decided to go upstairs. However, he tried getting the cat from under the couch. It started hissing. It started acting super aggressive. So he just said, whatever, I'ma just leave the cat there. He left one little light, like it was like a night light on for the cat in case it did want to go upstairs. And he turned off the kitchen light. He turned off the hallway. He was headed upstairs. Now, as he was making his way up the stairs, he said that the night light kept flickering. So yeah, it was really weird. He went back to adjust this light and then proceeded to go back where he was going to. Now, he was going up the stairs and he heard some footsteps behind him. He turned around, there was nothing there. He was halfway up, he turned around, there was footsteps again and there was nothing there. So as he was coming like up, he's almost up at the stairs and he hears something. At this point, the whole house, the whole lights, the remaining lights turn off. When he turned to look back, what he saw is something that I don't know, but I would not be able to live with this. He turned around and he saw something peeking right at the corner from the stairs. He absolutely freaked out. He turned on all the lights. When he ran up the room, he phone called his parents. He grabbed the cat. He drove all the way to his house. For the remaining day, he was babysitting his parents' cat at his home. When they went back, they called the police, they did everything, they investigated. There was no sign of forced entry or that anyone entered the house. So whatever he saw peeking from the stairs is something that no one could explain. It could have been his eyes playing a joke on him, but he swore that it was way too clear to be something from his mind.
I could say that I would have grabbed the cat and ran out of the house, but that would be a lie. I would have turned into a track star and told my parents I'm not getting the cat until the sun comes up. Sorry, Fluffy, you're gonna have to be roomies with Evil Casper for the night because I'm not stepping another foot in that house. I do not play about strange figures, shadows, entities, none of that. And I would have told my parents they needed to sell the house immediately because why is the cat acting weird in just that house? Like, get some holy water or something and make that thing go away.
They were newlyweds. Her husband's name was George. He comes home from work and they got in an argument about something. And he decides to leave and go blow off steam. And this is in the Dayton, Ohio area. And he takes a city bus downtown. He leaves the family car at home. And when he gets off the bus, the last person that ever saw him was the bus driver, at least officially. Like, I think obviously somebody saw him after that, but the last known person is a bus driver. And he was going into the direction of a nightclub called the Asylum. So the assumption, I would say, is that he went to the Asylum because that's where he was seen walking towards. But he was never seen again. And there's some really mysterious things about this nightclub, the Asylum, and Dayton, Ohio's underground network of vampires. It's what? It's not the first, it's the second most vampires in the country. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was a study done by like the New Orleans Vampire Association or whatever. And so New Orleans is first and Dayton, Ohio was second.
But supposedly he goes in there and the next day there's an investigation into where he is because he didn't come home that night. I don't think it was Helen. I think it was George's mom that called the police. And so they start looking around, and this retired detective goes in the next day just to, I guess, ask questions, just to see, has anybody seen this guy? He has a picture of him. And so he goes to a bartender, and he shows the bartender, have you seen this guy? His name's George Gall. And the bartender said, that is a face I'll never forget. And so we have somebody inside the bar saying that they have seen him there. So the bus driver is saying that he saw him going to the Asylum nightclub. It seems like he went in. So at the end of the night, the floor is empty. Bartender's probably cleaning up, doing his rounds. And he sees a deal go down in this empty floor. And this bartender, he said that there was a deal that happened. Somebody came in, an occult collector, and bought a human head that was wrapped in a bag. And the human head that he saw wrapped in the bag was what was in the picture, George Gall. And my question is, if that's true, why did the detective a day after this incident go in there, ask questions, and get that information, and then nothing ever comes of it, and it becomes a cold case?
Ohio is not a real place, I swear. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. Because what do you mean they have a town with the second biggest population of vampires? How did they even research this? Like, what, you just go up to people asking, hey, are you a vampire? And as soon as he said the club's name was the Asylum, I knew this was going to take a bad turn. That, plus being in a town known for having a lot of vamps, I knew this wasn't ending well. But why did the bartender not call the cops when they saw the deal happen? And why did they wait until a detective came in asking questions? Why the heck didn't the detective do anything with the information he was given and let it turn into a cold case? What, they have some secret underworld deal with the vamps or something? If I'm ever in Ohio, I'll make sure to have some garlic, a couple wooden stakes, and not go outside after the sun sets.
The kids aren't learning how to learn anymore. Let me cook. We are now witnessing the first generation to grow up with the skill of thinking as optional. You can opt out of thinking by just using AI to think for you. I partake in video creation and posting videos on the internet. I have never seen more comments asking me basic common sense questions that could just be a Google search. You can look it up. They don't have to learn anymore. They don't have to learn math. They could just take a picture of the math problem and have it solved. They don't have to learn how to write essays. They could just have AI write the essay for them. They don't have to learn how to read or write, let alone write cursive. I am so afraid, so I'm going to leave you with this. Read more books. Force yourself to do it. Force yourself to learn comprehension, reading. Teach yourself how to learn. Or we might literally see the end of humanity. I think it is that deep. Okay. I'm gonna go try to not spiral.
Actually, it is that deep. With all this new technology coming out, yes, things have gotten easier, but it's a disadvantage for kids and even adults. Because what happens if one day the power goes out? No Wi-Fi, no signal. How are they going to do anything? Like, they're using AI for everything. Like she said, basic questions, things that only take a couple seconds of thinking to figure out. And don't get me started on the writing. Like, there are kids who don't even know how to write out their own name. It's actually sad. Like, everything is either on a phone, tablet, or computer. I agree with her. Read more books, learn new things. Actually, never stop learning, because then the machines win.
So Brian Schaefer literally vanished into thin air when he walked into a bar in Columbus, Ohio. And this is not a true crime page, but stay with me for a second. Cameras watched everyone who walked in that night, and they recorded them leaving as well. Everyone except Brian. There were over 50 police on the scene that night, and they watched the footage frame by frame. Brian was just gone. They brought the FBI in. They couldn't find him either, but they established that he did not leave through an exit. That was clear, right? Now, Brian was not in crisis that we know of. He appeared to be a happy medical student. He had a girlfriend. They were going to Miami, right? He was thriving. So most people focus on the bar, the cameras, the suspects, right? But I just want us to zoom out for a second, okay? Columbus, Ohio sits inside what might be the most energetically significant ancient network in North America. 30 miles from where Brian vanished sits the Newark earthwork, right? The largest geometric earthen structure built anywhere. Earthen means built from the earth. It was built by the Hopewell civilization between 100 BC and 400 AD. It is 3,000 acres of precise geometric shapes. In 2023, it was named a World Heritage Site, just like Stonehenge or the pyramids, okay? But my question is, why? The official reason they built it was to keep up with this specific lunar cycle, and I'm sure that's what it is. But what if the purpose of aligning this structure with a specific lunar cycle would open something up? And what were they opening up? And what if that same thing opened up that night Brian was in the club, okay? Listen, I know this sounds like a stretch, like mental gymnastics, but we know that a crowded nightclub is full of energy. Consciousness is altered across the entire room. You've got rhythmic beats going through the floor, moving through the walls, right? Some people believe portals can be opened that way during spikes of human energy. And what if that's what the Hopewell people understood? And maybe that same energy opened up that night and Brian went through it. I don't know. Maybe, can it happen again?
Really, again with Ohio? What is up with that state? Seriously, this case has always bothered me. Like, he went in and never came out. No one ever saw him leaving. I was trying to rack my brain thinking of other ways he could have left, but they didn't make sense because there was only one other exit. Still, no one saw anything, or so they say. And then I started thinking maybe he was still inside the building. Like, maybe something bad happened at night. I really hope not, but there aren't any other ways he could have left. The whole portal thing to me is kind of a stretch, but strange things happen, and maybe this was one of them. Trigger warning for the next clip. It covers a news update about a serial killer arrest, including their alleged crimes and the evidence against them. It doesn't go into graphic detail, but sensitive topics are discussed. I'll put a timestamp on the screen to skip to if you'd rather not watch the clip.
Possible the biggest serial killer of all time has just been caught, August 2026. It's Eugene Horsch. This all started when he was pulled over 2 months ago in June of 2026. He was pulled over alongside an unnamed female that had the ID belonging to Blair Tonzelli, which is a girl that's been missing for more than 3 years. So she might be one of the victims as well. So what we know is that Eugene Horsch has a house in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When the DEA searched the house, because when they pulled him over, he had so many charges that it was unreal. Plus the missing person ID. He had illegal weapons. He had large amounts of drugs on him. He had that missing person's ID. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. They pulled him over. So they did a DEA search on his house. What they found is truly shocking, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it on the mainstream media. They might just be scared to let people know that people like this could be your next door neighbor. They found more than 700,000 images of what appeared to be RAPE and death. They found more than 60,000 videos containing the same subject material, more than 10,000 hand-drawn drawings and manuscripts, etc. This evidence is huge. We're talking about almost 1 million things of evidence they're having to go through. So they start going through and thinking it's just stuff that he's downloaded off the dark web and he's just a sick individual. But they're looking for this Blair girl, right? Well, when they're looking through the videos, they realize, hey, some of these videos and photos are from inside of this house. And they only went through roughly about 5% of the data. So only 5%. And they already found out that he is definitely responsible for the murders of 4 women, but they haven't found their bodies. It's just videos and photos of him doing things to them and then them dead in the videos and stuff. Gabrielle had been missing since 2012. And Maribel went missing in 2018. Now, the other 2 women that are believed to be involved in this is Blair, which, she's missing since 2023. Supposedly, her father and Eugene's father had some kind of drug arrangement originally planned out. They found a giant grow house in his basement and a humongous stash of illegal weapons. So this guy's into like every single bad thing you could be into, essentially. And the other woman was Amy McHale, and she also had ties to him. She was actually married to Eugene's father, so she would have technically been his stepmother. Now, we don't have videos and photos of them yet. They're still going through everything. We have videos and photos of the other 2, though. And then we also have 5 urns containing human DNA, human remains. And we don't know who those 5 urns belong to. Now, here's the crazy part, is Blair actually told people days before she went missing that this crazy guy comes over to my dad's house and talks about melting people in these giant barrels. And that might explain why we haven't found any bodies yet. Because in these giant barrels that they found in his home, there was some kind of oil-like chemical substance that they are still analyzing right now to figure out what it is and what it does. My bet is it's some kind of acid that will completely vaporize, bone, skin, and everything. The story is still developing. But already, we know that there are potentially 10 bodies involved in this already. And we've only gone through 5% of the evidence. So we're waiting to hear who that unnamed woman was. Was she somebody that had Stockholm Syndrome and was forced, she was held captive by him? Or is she somebody that was a lure? We do see a lot of modern cases of a female lure being involved. And that's gone back for a while, but we're just now hearing a lot more about it. Especially when it comes to human sex traffickers and stuff. A woman is much easier to get somebody lured into a location where the attack can take place. So we don't know who she was yet, or why she seemed to be a willing participant carrying around an ID belonging to another woman. So we're going to find out. There's a reason why she's remained unnamed at this point. So we'll see that coming up. It looks like he might be doing the classic trope, though, of hunting down people that were already in this drug world that might not be looked into by the police as much, because apparently, what I was looking up online, Amy McHale, at the time she went missing, was struggling with mental illness and drug abuse. And then also, Blair's father was involved in the whole drug world. She was in a house where there was drugs coming in and out of it a lot. And we know how the police tend to investigate things when it's very heavily drug-fueled. And they have a long ways to go. It's taken them 2 months to go through 5%. This could be years and years and years of them uncovering people, bodies, connecting cold cases. You're talking about somebody from 14 years ago that we know of right now. That is a long time for a serial killer to remain active, and we know how serial killer habits are. Most serial killers only go a few months, not years, between murders. And right now, we know that we have a 2012 disappearance, a 2016 disappearance, a 2018 disappearance, and a 2023 disappearance. So we know that there's going to be a lot that are going to fill in those blanks. That's what we're just waiting to see, is what blanks will be filled with what information.
First off, it is genuinely terrifying that someone like this can walk among regular people. In a world where there are cameras everywhere, it's mind-blowing how long people like this manage to fly under the radar. They found really bad stuff in his car. That shows he was actively involved in some shady stuff. But then they go into the house and it gets a million times darker. All the pictures and stuff, he was documenting what he did. He wanted a record of it. And in the drawings and manuscripts, he was living this sick obsession on paper before actually doing it in real life. That is a deeply disturbed mind. The only silver lining is that with a mountain of evidence like that, the law can make sure he never sees the light of day again.
Do you know? Vampires do exist, and they were found in New Orleans. Even if they bite you 100 times, you will not turn into a vampire. They are using 4,000-year-old pagan practices to turn a human into a vampire. Vampires are not scared of garlic, holy water, or a cross. They only fear God. Vampires are actually kind, and they can be kind to the people around them. Vampires don't just drink. Sometimes they prefer water too. A group of vampires is called a brood, which is what they call them when they are together. Vampires don't have a reflection, according to the stories about them. Other vampires even have their own YouTube channels, and maybe you already know them.
What was that? Fun facts about vampires? There goes my garlic idea. As we learned earlier in the video, New Orleans has the biggest vampire population, so that's another place I'll be sure to enjoy during only the day if I ever visit. And what do you mean vampires drink water? They have immortality. Dehydration can't get them. I knew about the reflection part, but a group of them being called a brood is new to me, and they can bite you 100 times and you won't turn into one because they only use ancient practices to do that. Yeah, no, I'm not taking my chances with anyone who has fangs. What would you do if you met a vampire?
Did you know the government hires drivers to make rush hour more stressful so that when you get home to with your family, you're pissed off, tired, stressed, and less likely to overthrow the government?
I feel like after this video, people are going to be more likely to overthrow the government to get back at them for doing something this petty, for pissing them off so much on their way home, and so they don't have to deal with traffic anymore. I'm just kidding, that was a joke. This is for entertainment purposes only. But like, are they hiring? I'm a great driver. If you saw a job listing for road rage instigator, would you apply?
Well, this confirms it. Next Generation is absolutely cooked.
Kentucky is Convecchi, Indiana is Inolano, and Tennessee is Tunisio.
This is an AI-generated US map given to students at a school in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's not only misplaced certain cities, but it's renamed entire states. Instead of Louisiana, it's Lukgong, Alabama is Alatom, and Kentucky is Veneki. Grew up in the state of Veneki.
Mom, did you know that we live in Veneki?
Bro, the kids were even learning about a territory between Canada and Washington called Beehive. Now, to make matters worse, the map was only one part of a whole agenda book given to students, which the parents had to purchase. And this booklet also included things like a periodic table with non-existent elements, and the existing elements were given incorrect values. It also had a solar system chart where Mars was just nicknamed Mark, and they put a little flare on Saturn to rename it Saturn. So to be clear, the person or team that AI generated this book either didn't even flip through it before handing it out to students, or perhaps worse, they did check and they didn't even realize anything was wrong. Either way, somebody about to be fired.
I would be so pissed if I had to pay for my kid to get an agenda for school and they came home with that AI garbage. Like, I swear, schools are not teaching these kids anything. They're trying to take the easy way out for everything. Do people not realize that AI can't really spell correctly? Well, as far as I know, like, it can't spell on images and stuff. Either they did not care that the information was wrong, or they couldn't tell because they didn't know what it was supposed to say in the first place. I don't know which is more concerning, but I'm scared AI is going to take over everything, and people who make stuff like that aren't helping the situation. We've reached the end of the road for tonight. Let me know what you thought of tonight's video in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep the high beams on. I'm your host, and I'll see you back on the Paranormal Highway very soon.